The protagonist, Makoto Misumi, as usual, decided to fall asleep after his working day, but instead of a normal dream, he sees the unreal. He sees the god Tsukuyomi in front of him. He informs him that his relatives are not actually from this world. Once upon a time, they signed a contract to transfer one of their children. Makoto agrees to this and evaporates. In the next place, he is immediately greeted by a bright light. The fair-haired girl mocked him in every possible way, but gave him the ability to read and write in all languages except human. She opens a portal below him and Makoto flies straight down. He is captured by Tsukuyomi and grants him freedom in this new world. He tells him that all of his abilities in human life were very connected. Tsukuyomi leaves him and Makoto flies further down. His abilities are truly amazing. After 3 days of wandering on the rocks, he finally hears someone cry for help. It turns out to be a girl and an orc, Ima. In front of her stood a two-headed wolf. Makoto rips it open with one blow and saves her. Ima says that she went to the sacrifice and for her salvation, he will be allowed to stay in her village. Already there having dinner, he notices that Ima uses magic. Makoto learns magic with her and the first time he hits a strong spell. After such a surprise, Ima tries to find out his level. He turns out to be only the first and everyone immediately dispersed around him. The next day in the morning, he already left to kill the deity Sin. In place, it turns out to be a huge dragon, eclipsing everything with a red fog. Makoto manages to hurt him, but the dragon imprisoned him in an ice cube. In this state, the dragon sees his memories while he himself thinks about them. When Makoto knocked himself out of the cube, the dragon Shin was already begging him to talk. He asked to become her companion because she became interested in his desires. Sin concludes a pact with him and turns into a blue-haired girl. She turns to him master and asks to go with him to a foggy dimension. From there, they went straight to Ima together. She was shocked when she found out that Sing was not a danger to them. At the camp, they celebrate Makoto's victory. In the morning, he sees all the orcs who have collected all their things. Sing invited all of them to her domain, that is, the Misty Dimension. Makoto was furious at such a spontaneous decision, and in order to protect the settlement, Shin left a small part of her for protection. After 3 days, the orcs mastered new lands. Shin constantly begged Makoto to look in his memories, sometimes making fun of him. In the forest, Shin runs to Makoto with a wounded dwarf in his arms. He was attacked by a huge mad spider that invaded the dimension. Sin once fought him but missed. In the battle, Makoto realizes that his regeneration is very high. The spider nailed him to the tree, but Makoto stopped holding back and spent all his strength. The spider turned out to be unusual and she liked Makoto. Shin forced her to also make a contract and become Makoto's servant. She turns into a beautiful girl with dark hair and Sin even becomes jealous of her. When Makoto woke up and found out the truth, he was shocked. The dwarf turned out to be the elder dwarf Baron, and he asked Makoto to live with them. Sing set the rules, supply them with weapons and pay taxes in the future. Baron agreed and went after his men. Makoto sometimes walked across the open spaces. Sin finds him on a mountain and invites him to an important conversation. 2 girls ask him to name them. He named Shin Tomo and the dark-haired one Mio. The names gave them some power. Soon Makoto was performing in front of the 4 races. Mayo and Tomo got the people to vote on what Makoto would be called. As a result, the young master was chosen. After such a performance, he wanted to meet people, but instead of communication, a whole army was sent to him. Makoto remembered that the goddess had not given him the ability to speak his language. But that was not the reason. In fact, due to his immense power, his mana created a huge aura for people behind Makoto himself. The dwarves forged a mask and an aura-blocking ring for him, and Tomo, Mio, and Ima taught him the human language. After that, Makoto and his maids went to a settlement with people disguised as merchants. There they want to take the task and measure their levels. The girls had levels over 1,000, and at this time, Makoto had not changed. Together, they rented a hotel room, lowering the price slightly with threats. On the way, Makoto noticed that they were being followed, and therefore, while she and Mayo went to dinner, Tomo stayed at the wagon. On the way to the inn, they meet a girl, Raman, who asks them for help. They take her with them. At this time, Tomo was attacked by a group of bandits. Their experience was not enough to fight her. Tomo killed them all and took one for interrogation. Makoto scolded her for such an act, and the girl painted a portrait of her missing sister To. Makoto was a little stunned by the fact that the image of his sister was similar to his former classmate. Tomo and Mayo were able to find her in one of the city's cellars. She was subjected to magical abuse, but Tomo brushed away all the bad things from her. Rainan, on the way with Makoto, turns into an alley. Makoto looks over the walls and sees that she was actually sent to them. But death threats to her sister. She was ordered to rob Makoto. Rainan can't do that because they treated her so kindly. At this time, Mayo and Tomo led their sister to the room, but they were already met there. These were the ones who sent Rinan. Their leader was very famous in the city for his abilities, but Tomo and Mio broke their squad and notably had fun with their magic, causing damage to the city. The sisters were reunited and Makoto was very angry with the girls. Together they went to another city where they have to register again as adventurers. Rumors have already spread everywhere about the ruined city, where there was no stone left unturned. Makoto suggested that Tomo go on a journey to level up, and Tomo immediately left. From there they went to the large city of Sigi. Along the way they kill insects, collecting trophies from them, namely eyes. Upon arrival, Makoto is given a secret ID. They are going to say goodbye to the sisters and have a farewell dinner in the evening. Makoto tastes the famous meat on the bone and is moved to tears by the taste. Together they rest and disperse. Mayo and Makoto went to the hotel. In the morning they go to their world where Ima expresses his displeasure because he does not speak like a ruler. Little Tomo gives a tour of the settlement. Their development was very noticeable, and the orcs were building a huge house for Makoto. Baron is overjoyed at his arrival and shows off his custom armor sets. He liked one of them, but after trying it, he immediately wore out. The dwarf promised to make it more durable. Makoto arrived at the meeting on assignment. Patrick Rembrandt was very disappointed when he learned about his level, but when he saw the eyes of insects, he immediately signed all the papers. Makoto wants to start his own trading company, but it requires passing an exam. Once he read the reference book, he went to the exam. Makoto made it in less than half the time for the highest score. The next step was to deliver valuable materials or equivalent to them. Makoto took out the materials he picked up on the way to the city from the bag and passed everything perfectly. I had to come back the next day to get my license. Tomo has already returned to the dimension and is translating memories with Mio. Makoto finds the girls in a fight. They fought over TV shows and memories. Mio was more restrained than Tomo, but in the end Makoto humbled everyone. In the morning he found the alchemist Hazel to help Patrick. Hazel, according to the recipe of the butler Maurice, created an antidote for Rembrandt's wife and children. Due to a level 8 corruption, they became very aggressive and injured Patrick while trying to give her an antidote. Recently, her hair has fallen out. Her skin has turned pale and her eyes have become red. Makoto volunteered to help with this. One family member at a time, he immobilized them and Maurice filled them with medicine. Soon they were all lying quietly in their beds. When Makoto arrived in his world, it turned out he was being followed. They attacked him, but he easily dodged. Tomo and Mayo were with him, but the second one sounded stumped the request of Makoto, because together they would have staged a powerful pogrom. Alone, Tomo scattered everyone except the ringleaders. It turned out that it was one of them, Lime Latte, who brought damage to the Rembrandt family. But his corruption was only supposed to put them to sleep. He was deceived by a sorcerer who framed him. Since then, Lime regularly came to Patrick with apologies and Tomo takes him into his servants, giving him a sword and a bag of coins. Ima reports a problem regarding Makoto and his girls. Those who train with Tomo or Mio lose faith in themselves due to losing. Makoto decided to create a challenge where the strongest of each race would compete in a one-on-one arena. At the conclusion of the first fight, Tomo speaks harshly about being weak. From now on, such battles will be held once a week in which their abilities will be evaluated. She wants to introduce a ranking system for all of them. Tomo also trains a group of adventurers so that they can help the city. She arranges the most brutal training with very strong enemies. Normally, seekers of this level can only kill one such monster, but Tomo taught them to use more abilities in combat. Makoto wants to rent a space for his trade. Rembrandt helps him in this. In the world of another dimension, a celebration was arranged where everyone could talk to Makoto. From conversations, he learned that after Tomo's speech, the settlement became much more warlike and a dwarf craftsman would supply weapons to his trading shop. Tomo and Mayo were waiting for Makoto in the forest near the camp when they suddenly started up. They sensed something was wrong with their master. They rather ran towards him, where he was practicing with the bow. It turned out that when he concentrates, its consciousness blurs into space and the girls at that moment feel his death. Mayo was very scared and Tomo explained to him that this would not happen again. Usually, after leveling up, mana does not increase, it is always stable, but in Makoto it grew with a large progression. Tomo realizes that his power is already like a god. Makoto was so lost in thought after all the problems with the trade and his forces that he accidentally wanders into the brothel district. There he was already picked up by one girl as Tomo and Mio immediately take him to the hotel. In the room, they want to reveal their feelings for him, but he escapes. The next morning, Mio apologizes for yesterday's incident and together they go to the forest where they are in trouble. On a lawn with the flowers they want, they are met by two girls and behind them was a group of adventurers watching them. The girls use magic arrows to shoot. Makoto saves the Seekers, and Mio, having absorbed the girl's mana, makes it possible for everyone to talk calmly. Their names are Aqua and Eris. The girls take them to the elders in the forest. They already know that Makoto is a traitor and that they defeated Aqua and Eris. As an apology, they will have a feast in the evening. In the meantime, the girls want to introduce them to their mentor. While he was shaking Makoto's hand, Mio couldn't take it anymore and kicked him into the wall. The mentor realizes that they are not ordinary people and promises to take revenge. Mio found out that someone possessed him. In the evening, in front of everyone, he sucks the power from one of the elders and takes on his true appearance, the Lich. Makoto himself took the mana from this demon and sent it to the village for interrogation. It turned out that once upon a time, Tomo created a barrier over this settlement. Under interrogation, they learned that Lich just wanted to become a Grant. He believed that such a person could easily move between worlds. Makoto was interested in the Lich's magic and made a contract with him. In human form, the Lich was a red-haired man. But at one point, an explosion is heard and Tomo falls to the floor, apologizing for the mistake he made and bleeding in parallel. Makoto left Mio with Tomo, and he went with the Lich to the site of the explosion. On the way, the Lich stops because he cannot get used to the new body. He stays behind and fires healing beams at the wounded. Makoto arrives at the scene of the explosion and sees the memories of one adventurer who was involved in it. They got into their dimension and stole a lot of weapons. They were able to kill the ogre and hit a piece of Tomo with the explosion. Makoto was angry with her. He teleports to her in the city of Mirage, where the trade took place. He cuts off her arms and then kills her. Makoto killed a human for the first time. He scolds himself for being knave. In the morning, he held a funeral in honor of the dead orc and part of Tomo. Makoto visits her in the infirmary. She has already recovered and again argues with Mio. He named the Lich Shiki. He also came to the next meeting with Rembrandt. There, Patrick showed him a possible place of trade, and Makoto decided to show his true appearance by removing his mask. Rembrandt understood and accepted him as he is. Together with Shiki, he goes on a long journey, first giving gifts to the girls, namely his memories. When they got to the road, a huge yellow beam shot at Makoto, and he appeared in some kind of desert. Two warriors immediately attacked him and cut off his fingers. He hears talk of the goddess and understands why he is here. Makoto scans the area and realizes that he is on the battlefield between demons and humans, because a huge army was already standing behind the mountain. He started firing fireballs at them, but as they paused, they were talking. Their names are Mitsurugi and Sophia. They removed the blessing of the goddess from him, but this does not help them, because she only gave him the opportunity to speak different languages. Makoto breaks loose and removes his mana-holding rings. No spell can contain his power. Putting all the mana into the shot, he defeats them by knocking them into the river. Makoto wakes up in his dimension next to Mio and Tomo. He decides to join the academy. Tomo introduces him to a new part of himself, Komo. It is created from Tomo and Makoto's mana. The trading business is already in full swing and enjoys great popularity. They sell different goods, from weapons to fruits. Makoto realizes that the release of mana through the shot while being carried by the goddess has taken a huge toll of the war between humans and demons.